Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. We're a couple of guys talk about how to make the world a better place and hopefully make your day a little bit better in the process. My name is Mark, followed by my co-host Stephen. Let's get things kicked off. Well, first off, let's just do a quick recap of the week. Stephen, how's your week been?
Oh, my week's been really good. I put in a lot of work, and I'm feeling it. I think the night of 1,000 kicks yesterday was the ultimate showstopper, really.
I was going to say, how your legs feeling today?
I'm glad to be here.
Glad to be vertical?
I'm glad to be here, yeah. I'm glad I'm sitting down, though.
Yeah, no, it's been, like, we were just talking off air. It's like, man, I have been, like, it's been a great week, but it's been a really, like, exhausting, tiring week for some reason. I don't know if it's because of the weather or if we're doing extra things around the dojo. We put up a whole bunch of more vinyl signs on the wall. Changed all the batteries in the camera, so climbing up and down ladders all week. And obviously the active teaching can sometimes be a little draining, but I mean, sometimes it's like I need a nap.
Yeah.
So, but it's been a really good week. For those of you guys out there listening, Stephen has been putting together some really great t-shirt designs that I think we're going to try to start rolling out here in the next probably month or so. And I just took a look at them. He showed me some of them, and they are killer. They look really, really good. So that's really exciting to hear. But yeah, it's been a good week, I think, just overall at the dojo. And personally, I mean, I'm still feeling like I'm getting better from that week of illness, but yeah, things are going really, really well. Things are going well. So anything else to add from the week?
I think we're all just excited for sparring class. I think there's been a buzz.
Yes, we have a very special guest coming in to teach sparring. Grandmaster David Linton is going to be gracing us with his presence Saturday morning to show us all how to do this thing called martial arts. So I agree. I think everybody's kind of excited about that. I tell everybody to wear their cups and get a tetanus shot. So I think they should all be ready.
Probably why I'm tired. It's because I got one of those.
Yeah, probably. Tetanus shots kind of wear you out.
Yeah.
But all right, everybody. This week's top 5 is a very broad topic, so bear with us. I mean, granted, we could easily break this one subject down or topic down into like 5 or 6, but we're just doing top 5 rock bands. Now, yes, we do know that you could be like top 5 heavy metal bands, top 5 folk bands, top 5 grunge bands. Like, we all know that there are different types of rock bands, but these are just top 5 rock bands that come to our mind. So, would you like to start off, Stephen?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, just to reiterate, this is a very broad list. I took it of the approach of really just has to have a rock sound. I listen to more metal and more European stuff as well. So for me, this was a difficult challenge. So my top 5 rock bands are going to be in no particular order. AC/DC, Dio, Airborne. Then I've got Night Flight Orchestra, which is a European one.
Interesting. I'll have to check them out.
But they sound like a classic American rock band. Like
Night Flight Orchestra.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then to sum it up, I think this is tough. I'm thinking Bon Jovi.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Jovi.
Yeah.
It's crazy. My wife has a friend who's a huge Bon Jovi fan. Like, she has been to at least 20 concerts. She's in the fan club. She knows anything and everything about Bon Jovi. It's impressive and scary all at the same time.
Yeah.
And like, she's met Bon Jovi. Oh my goodness. It's like, if you need to know anything about the Bon, you ask her.
Runners up for me would probably be Yes and Judas Priest.
Oh, Judas Priest. That's a good one too. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, man, you could do like top 5 like 80s hair bands.
Mhm.
I mean, my goodness, there's so many like oh yeah, I could have an honorable mention list that's 20 long.
Yeah.
But I get you. So here's again in my no particular order. Here's my list. I've got Queen, I've got Metallica, The Offspring,
Oh wow. Oh.
and truthfully, I don't consider him rock, but his nickname is the King of Rock. So I had to put Elvis Presley
Okay.
on there,
Interesting.
even though I don't really consider Elvis Presley a rock person. He's more blues, but
Interesting.
when you have the nickname the King of Rock, I feel like he's got to
That's
be
your name.
yeah, you got to be on the list. And then one that will probably cause a whole bunch of like hate, so like whatever, internet. Nickelback.
Oh, we just lost a subscriber there.
I know. I don't. Hey, you can hate on Nickelback all you want, but their music is damn good. I don't even care. Okay, so you can argue with me with that all day long, but I'm a fan of the Nickelback. So,
Okay.
but yeah, like AC/DC is a great one. Aerosmith.
Oh, Aerosmith.
Like
yeah.
you could think Aerosmith. You could think like Motley Crue. I mean, shoot, the list can go on and on and on with just Night Ranger. I mean, Cinderella, like, what is it? Great White.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I used to work with a buddy who like really kind of turned me on to 80s hair bands. And I was like, 80s music sucked, blah, blah, blah. I was a 90s kid.
Yeah.
You know, 80s music was awful. You guys don't know music. Blah, blah, blah. And then he started like playing some and I was like, damn, this isn't that bad. This is pretty good. So I got humbled in the fact that 80s hair band music isn't so bad. You just have to get over the hair,
Mhm.
literally.
Mhm.
So, but that's our top five rock bands. Feel free to tear us up in the comments.
Yep.
Because I know we're going to get some hate for this one, but whatever. I'm going to stand by my list. I think it's good. So,
And
And it's-
deliver your top 5s too if you're brave.
yeah, exactly. Let's hear your top 5, internet. Okay, everybody's tough behind a keyboard. So, but yeah, I like this type of challenge just because it's so broad that you really have to kind of like take a step back and look at things individually. So, but like I said, you could easily put like top 5 grunge, top 5 punk, top 5 metal, top 5 80s hair bands, top 5 classic rock. Like, you know, Led Zeppelin could be on there, you know, all that stuff. So, you know, I wasn't too big into the grunge scene. So, like, good bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, yeah, they're good, but it just wasn't really my thing.
Okay.
So that's why. But I like Green Day. Green Day could have been on there, but I like Offspring a little bit more.
Okay.
So, like Sublime, you know, yeah, we could just keep going on and on and on. There's not too many modern rock bands that kind of like jump out at me in terms of like, oh man, well, let me rephrase that. There's a lot of metal bands out there now, but not a lot of like quote unquote rock bands, I think.
Yeah, I've seen that. It seems like there's just more specified niches, or they've gone into a full different direction now.
Yeah, like I like Five Finger Death Punch.
Mhm.
Like they're way good. Who else? This guy named Peyton Parrish. He's way good. I've been listening to a lot of his stuff lately, and he's more of the, I guess they classify him as Nordic rock.
Yeah.
So he sings a lot of like old Viking songs.
Mhm.
And by the way, he made an entire album of like Disney songs in his like Nordic rock style. It's actually pretty good. So yeah, so you could obviously keep going on and on about rock stuff, but that's my top 5. Let's hear what your top 5 is. See if it matches. See if it doesn't. If you don't like ours, it doesn't matter because it's not yours anyways. So now let's get on to the Ask the Sensei. Ask the Sensei. This week's questions have been interesting because they deal with things that I think everybody deals with, but not everybody trains. So it's hard to like really kind of get into somebody's head when you're dealing with these type of plateaus or issues. So The first question is, what has been your toughest rank during your training? So have you experienced a rank where you're like, man, this one has been way harder than all the others, whether it be physically or mentally?
Okay, well, let's break those two down.
Yeah.
Because first, physically, I would say that my first advanced rank, blue advanced, was the hardest.
To physically do?
Because you have such a transition from learning and knowing one form to now learning and knowing all previous forms in addition. So physically, it was a lot more expected of you, especially when it comes to testing.
Yeah.
The forms got a little more advanced. And it just felt like for me that I was barely on top of things going up the beginning ranks. But as soon as I hit that advanced rank, I'm like, well, now I got to study. Now I got to pick it up. Now I got to kick it up a notch to keep up. So that was one route. I think the most aware or hardest for me is also black belt. I think having the mindset of a black belt, having more of a mentality of understanding, and plus since I teach, is a huge thing that I have to be aware of, and that's hard.
Yeah,
it's like you got to know your stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because being a black belt and being an instructor, it's being able to answer questions or solve problems.
Yeah,
and you're like, hey, I don't know why this isn't working, and you're like, well, hell, I don't know why it's working either. Let's take a look. Then you actually have to look at it. It's like a car mechanic. If they're like, hey, my car's not working, and they're like, well, I can't tell you why it's not working. Like, you got to bring it in. Let's take a look at it. Same thing with teaching. It's like, Sensei, my kicks aren't very good. All right, well, let's take a look at them. Let's throw a couple of kicks. And then you got to be able to see
you got to tell
all those subtleties.
What you see.
Yeah, see those subtleties where you're like, you're not rotating your hips, or
you're not bringing your foot off the ground.
Exactly. It's being able to see those and then being able to verbalize them back or show them what they're not doing correctly, and then hopefully they take that and then they run with that. But no, yeah, I agree. I think those are both really good scenarios to think about when it comes to physical and mental. I would dare say my hardest mental stretch was probably blue through green. Like that stretch between blue advanced, and then green was probably the hardest for me mentally.
Okay.
Because up until then, you're testing quite frequently, maybe every 3 months, 4 months at the max. And then it's like, you're moving along pretty quick. And all of a sudden you get to blue belt. And I don't want to say the brakes get put on, but you only have maybe 3 or 4 advanced tests a year. So it's like, if you don't make one, you're waiting at least 6, 7 months, possibly 8 months before the next one. And you're like, oh God. And, at that rank, I was impatient. It's like, because everybody I associated with was a higher rank than me. So I'm like, God, I want to get to the next rank. I'm tired of being this rank. And for me, it really taught me patience because, and I'm a pretty patient person, but that really humbled me in patience because I was so fixated on just getting that next rank, get that next rank. And then when I got it, I wasn't satisfied. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm missing the entire point of training, where it's like you want to get that next rank, but you want to enjoy the journey in the training. And I remember I was so frustrated from blue to green. I was like, I am going so slow. What is going on? Why is it taking so long? I kept telling myself, why is it taking so long? And then when I got to green, I was like, you know what? Screw it. Okay, whatever. When I'm ready, I'm ready. When I'm ready to test, I'm ready to test. But I'm just going to have to try to learn how to enjoy the journey, enjoy the classes, enjoy the process of getting my black. And I swear I went from blue to green in a year and a half. Oh, wow. So 3 belt tests or 3 belt ranks in a year and a half. Okay, for me up until that point, that's a long time. Okay, because I had gone through white through blue, it felt like within a year. Okay, So then to go from like, what is that, 5 tests in 1 year to like 3 in almost 2 years, I'm like, this sucks. Like, God, what is wrong with me? But then when I got to green, I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, it'll happen when it happens. But like, let's enjoy what I can. So then all of a sudden, I went from green to brown within a year, and that should not take that fast. It should be like from green to brown black within like 2 or 3 years. But
So because you changed your mindset over test, why get me to the next rank, you realize like, hey, there's stuff I got to learn.
yeah, exactly.
That actually made you go a little faster.
Yeah. And when I stopped fixating on how fast I was going to go, I went faster.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of interesting. So I would say mentally the hardest test range or belt ranks were that blue to green rank for me. Physically, the hardest test was my black belt test. And that was because it was 8 hours long. And that was, we used to do like these ultra long tests back in the day where you started at 7 and you ended at 3. And it tested you. It was grueling. And I'm just glad I don't have to do that again. So physically, I would dare say my hardest test was going from brown to black. It was fun. Now, during the test, you're like, this sucks. But yeah, it was 8 hours long. I mean, and technically the black belt tests are still 8 hours, but they're broken up into 2. So they're roughly about 2 4-hour tests. And I don't know what's worse, having 2 4-hour tests or having 1 8-hour test. So, because I've done both and I hate both of them. So, yeah, I would say testing for black is by far the hardest belt test physically I've had to do. I mean, and it's interesting because testing for my other degrees of black have both been hard as well. But it's, because I've gotten older, so like certain things don't work as well as they used to. But when I would test for my black, I mean, I was in my mid 20s, like early 20s, and it's like, dude, nothing could have stopped me then, and I was gassed.
Yeah.
Just gassed. So that was a hard test for sure. And half of it was outside, so you're falling down on concrete. I just remember one guy, I won't say his name, but one guy, his dumbass decided to wear a white gi to the test. So my entire objective was to make his gi as dirty as possible with footprints, to where by the time he left, he looked like he was wearing a black gi.
Really?
Yeah, and even the guy running the test, his name's Russell Clegg, Master Clegg. He goes, "Why the hell are you wearing a white gi?" He's like, "Well, I want to stand out." And he's like, "Well, you're going to stand out, dumbass." So, yeah, needless to say, by the time the test was over, I had a good amount of footprints on him. It was great. It made me very happy. But, yeah, so I would dare say black belt physically, my first degree test was by far my hardest test. So, all right, going on to the next question is, have you ever had to deal with injuries during your training time, whether they had been occurred in the dojo or outside of the dojo? In fact, have you ever been injured inside the dojo?
I have not.
Neither have I.
I've
never sustained an injury inside the dojo.
I believe there was one time when I was doing a stepping stool kick where my leg gave out, but it was fine.
Yeah, I remember that class. I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Hope he's okay. But yeah,
no. Up, but then I was down.
Yeah.
But I have not sustained an injury inside.
Yeah, now we'll get into injuries during training, but I'm with you. I've never occurred an injury during a actual martial arts class.
Okay.
Now, have you like tweaked things and things kind of get hurt? Yes, but I wouldn't consider those like injuries. Yeah. Okay, like everybody always sustains like slight minor bumps and bruises and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's just the part of doing something physical. But no, wait a minute, I'm trying to think. You know what? I take it back. I hurt myself one time, and it was a non-contact thing.
Uh-oh.
I was practicing a scissor kick in the form kata 3,
Mm-hmm.
and when I landed, my back gave out. So like something happened to my back when I landed, and I was not right for a long time.
Wow.
So I don't know if I strained it or if I like something popped, but yeah, I landed and I was like, something's not right. I'm just gonna
No.
try to non-discreetly walk to the back wall without drawing too much attention to myself. So that's the only time that I've been injured during a class, and I keep forgetting that because that didn't really happen during a class. It happened during like practice,
Yeah.
and nobody touched me.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody always assumes it's like, oh,
Someone hit you so hard.
you probably get hurt all the time, blah 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 blah. Yeah, yes and no, but and I guess maybe you could say that I've sustained a couple of concussions from training. That's because you punch in for people that have zero control, and they just wallop you, and you're just like, seriously. So that used to be the running theme with a bunch of old masters is they would always try to pick the biggest person to punch in for them,
Oh no.
and that was always me.
Yep.
And they're like, all right, punch in. And I just remember one, I punched in and he like stepped to the side and he hook punched me in the side of the head and like my legs just gave out. And he's like, hold me up slightly to like make, you know, like, because it was during a seminar.
Yeah.
It was during a seminar after a tournament. And he's like, hold me up and making it look like nothing's wrong. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I felt like I couldn't feel my legs for a second. And he just kind of hold me up, and then he pats me on the back and is like, all right, go over there now. And I'm just thinking, what the hell just happened? Did I just get knocked out?
Where am I?
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing. So, but those are weird because it's like you were technically injured, but like you can still like continue on.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like physical or like visual like oh he's completely injured.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you got your bell rung. Like,
Yeah.
hey, shut up, go back in line.
It's not like you see part of a bone sticking out through somebody's
Exactly. So, like, what kind of injuries have you had that may have affected your training? Have you had any injuries?
skin. No.
Man, you are so blessed. Good for you.
I everything that could move has been fused already, so I just walk around. So I have a fused back.
Yeah.
For clarification, it's like
Because that's right. You started training,
yeah.
then you had to stop because you were going to go through surgery. And it took you about, what, a good year and a half? Well, how long did it take you to recover?
Oh, probably 8 years.
Really, to fully recover?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Like there's it's been recent and I had the surgery in 2014.
Uh-huh.
So it's been 10 years. But there's been times recently where it's like I have more mobility, or I have this, or this part of me has just woken up, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
very interesting. Surgery messes you up. It's
Yes, it does.
It does some interesting things, and you can't ever think that you're fully healed because it's just such a slow process. Your body just naturally wakes itself up.
Well, I remember I was talking with Doc. Well, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but he was talking about surgery, and he goes, surgery ages your body faster than you think it does because it's such a traumatic event to your body that your body ages like faster and faster because of that event. And I was all like, God, he's right. Like, you did something to yourself that wasn't meant to be, but yet you had to do it to make sure that you can function normally. So, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, I have had to deal with injuries throughout my training. Again, that never really happened inside the dojo, but they do affect my training. One that comes to mind right away was we used to go play, and we don't anymore, probably because of this. We used to go play football after the first workout after the tournament. Okay, because we'd been like prepping and working so hard to get ready for the tournament. And then at that point, like nobody wants to practice or do karate. It's like, hey, let's go have some fun. So we used to, gather together as instructors and we'd go to the park and we'd break up into teams and we'd play football. And this is where I need to tell my wife, Shanna, she needs to be careful of what she tells people because it ends up happening. Okay. So I told her, be like, hey, we're going to go, cause I was like getting my cleats and my gloves together.
Oh, wow. This is
the night before. Yeah. Like, of course it's like do or die stuff.
Yeah.
She goes, what are you doing? I was like, oh, well, we're going to play football, for the workout tomorrow. She goes, you're an idiot. And I go, why? She goes, you're going to hurt yourself. You're probably going to tear your Achilles or something. And I did. And I was like, and I called her up and I go, this is all your fault. And she goes, what are you talking about? I'm like, I just tore my Achilles. And she's like, are you serious? I go, yeah, and it's all your fault. I'll still never let her live it down. But we were playing, and it was towards the end of the game, and I was guarding somebody on defense, and I remember backpedaling, and then they turned to their right, so I planted my right foot to push off and go to my left, and it felt like somebody stepped on the back of my foot, like someone gave you a flat tire.
Yeah.
And I heard a pop with it, and I was like, whoa, that felt weird. And I hobbled off the field, and I was trying to walk normal, and I couldn't walk normal. Like I couldn't flex my right foot at all. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. And like I pressed on the back of my leg, and normally you have that hard tendon, and it's very squishy. Luckily, it didn't completely detach, but it tore about halfway through. And yeah, I had to get into a boot and let it kind of repair on its own. They're like, you can go into surgery, but you can just let it heal on your own. The effects are going to be the same. And I was like, well, then I will let it heal on my own. Thank you. Yeah, so that was kind of a challenge, dealing with walking around in a boot and training and teaching out of a boot and all that stuff. And yeah, I would say as of the last, 5 years, I've had to deal with lingering knee issues where sometimes I can train and sometimes I can't train. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not good. Like at the beginning of the week, honestly, they felt pretty damn good. Right now, they don't feel pretty good. So we've had a lot of weather changes here in Utah, and I've been climbing up and down ladders a lot, and they are just not very happy. So when you're dealing with injuries, one, you have to know your limitations and what you can and can't do, and then try to do a little bit more than that. Don't do a lot, just do a little bit more, because you got to remember it's a long game. It's not a sprint. It's more of a marathon. Okay, so when you're dealing with injuries, it's not how fast can you get back. It's more of, are you making steps to get back? Okay, are you stretching out? Are you eating right? Are you taking your medicine that you need to? Are you icing appropriately? Are you doing things that promote recovery? Okay, because if you're injured and you're not actively doing things to help you get back from that injury, then you just kind of have to ask yourself, what are you doing? And it's like, I've had to ask myself that a couple of times, where it's like, man, these knee injuries are just like preventing me from doing a lot of things. Like, what, is there something wrong with me? And I have to ask myself, and I've talked with Master Martin and Master Linton about this, because obviously they want me to work out all the time. And it's like, I get it. I want to work out all the time, because it's a crazy thing. When you stop practicing or working out, you work yourself out. Mm-hmm. So when you stop actively training, you start unbeknownstly doing things that prevent you from training or like get you out of it. So like, I understand the the logic of like get back as fast as you can. So, and I don't blame them for taking that approach at the same time. But I had to take a really hard look in the mirror and ask myself, be like, okay, do I destroy my knees for training for me, or do I postpone my training for a little bit and watch, and then I have my knees good for teaching for my students? So it's like, who do I need to give my body to effectively? It's like, do I want to destroy it in the morning and not be very good in the afternoon for the students, or do I want to keep it good in the morning or not destroy it in the morning and kind of let them all out for the students?
Okay.
So it's a question I've had to ask myself more than multiple times. So, but just remember, when you are dealing with injuries, take your time, stay consistent, do what you can, and don't worry about what you can't do. Okay? Maybe you don't do group classes for a while. Just come to personal lessons. I can't tell you how many times I've taught people with injuries just in personal lessons. Like, Margaret, man, like a month before her test, she like jacks up her leg, meaning like she's in one of those scooters and it's zero pressure for 4 weeks.
Really?
And I'm like, I'm like, Margaret, you got to test in 6 weeks. Like, this is awful. And she goes, I know. So we did class sitting in a yoga ball for 4 weeks. And we ran through her forms sitting on a yoga ball for 4 weeks. So it's like, there are things you can still do even when you are injured, but don't expect to do everything you used to do while you're injured. Okay?
That just goes to mindset. Like, you can give yourself some impediments.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you choose to or whether they just happen to you, it's like, well, what are you going to do now? Are you going to continue training, or are you going to let yourself wallow for a period of time and then try to get back into it?
Exactly. So, yeah, just do what you can. Don't worry about what you can't, and try to be as consistent as possible with it. So, and more than anything, make sure you're doing the right steps mentally to keep you mentally square. Okay?
That's right.
Because more than anything, like mentally, you'll check out a lot faster than you will physically. Okay, so if you haven't shown up to the dojo in a week for training, call and schedule a personal lesson as fast as you can. Okay, because mentally you need to be in the dojo. That's why even if I can't work out, like I will show up to the workouts and I will watch, because I need to be mentally engaged to make it feel like I'm still with it. Okay. All right, so next question is, what or who inspires or motivates you?
I have to quote the Michael Jackson song, "The Man in the Mirror."
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you're the one that kind of inspires and motivates
think
you?
about it. It's like, I'm doing this so I could be very healthy, have a good physical life. And in my case, that's something that's been kind of one of those unobtainables.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just being here and continuing training is something for me that is very important. But also, like, take it outside of the dojo, like with business, with my jobs, with everything that I'm doing that for me down the road to be able to provide for others eventually. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why, but I think you should do it for yourself. I mean, I come to the dojo because I'm inspired to for myself. That sounds very conceited and very narcissistic, but that's what it is.
I think that's a good approach to take. It's definitely a different one for sure. But I don't necessarily think that that's a wrong one.
Right.
At the same time, it's like, if someone or something motivates you, is that wrong? I don't necessarily think so. Like, maybe it's you like material things. So if you're like motivated by nice cars, are you an egomaniac because you're motivated by nice cars? No, you just know What motivates you? And you're like, I'm going to work my ass off because I want to get this nice car. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you're like, I like nice homes. So you work your butt off to have a nice home. Or like with you, you're like, I want to be physically a certain way. So I'm going to work my butt off to look physically a certain way. That's great. So I think no matter what it is, it can be used as a motivating factor. And they're like, anybody would be like, oh, that's the wrong type of motive. Whatever, man. It's like, are you getting the job done? Are you becoming better in the process? Then it's not the wrong motivation. Okay. I would dare say if you're like, man, I get motivated by hurting people. Okay, that's the wrong motivation.
Might be a line somewhere that we cross.
Exactly. But if you're talking about things that you want to obtain or you like or you want to see, of course, it's like the fact that you know what motivates you, I think is important, because there's a lot of people out there that have no idea what motivates them. They're just kind of,
it's like looking at yourself. Like for me, I just want to look at myself in 5 years and be like, okay, where do I want to be? Do I want to be better than where I am now? Or do I want to be worse? And the answer is never, I want to be worse than where I am now.
Because those are the only two options.
That's right.
Okay, there is no, well, I want to be the same. No, because it's 5 years later. You will not be the same 5 years later. You will either be better or you'll be worse. So, no, I honestly, I think that's great. That's a great perspective to give people, because maybe there's somebody out there that's thinking the same way and they're like, oh God, I feel bad for thinking this way. It's not. I mean, if you're motivated by you because you're like, I want to be the absolute best me I can be, what in the world's wrong with that? You know? So I think that's a great answer. And if you don't like it, well, we'll see how far you are in 5 years. So I would dare say there's a lot of contributing factors that motivate and inspire me. Like we've talked about it in previous episodes, where like I'm very motivated by the students. If I didn't really care or not motivated by the students, I wouldn't be here as much as I am, to be honest with you. It's like, if I didn't care about the students and seeing them succeed and helping them attain their goals, it's like, why would you spend 6 days a week at something? You know what I mean? So obviously I'm still very motivated by making sure the students get exactly what they need to from me. And obviously I'm motivated by my family, my wife and my kids. Again, for the simple fact that I'm taking 6 days a week away from them to help somebody else makes me want to make sure that they are taken care of in every other aspect. So eventually I don't have to be here 6 days a week and they can have me fully. So, and then obviously I'm motivated, like I'm inspired by my parents. They've all had to endure hardships and crazy things in their lives, and the fact that they've been able to come out through it like the way they have, I think is very, very impressive. I think at this stage, my mom, she currently is battling MS. So the fact that she's as positive as she is extremely motivating. And anytime I feel like I'm bitching about like my knees and I don't want to get up and move because my knees hurt, well, she's losing the ability to walk. So it's like she would give anything just to have sore knees. And then I'm just like, okay, you need to shut up. Like, you're acting like a little baby. Like, there's people out there that have it far worse than you. And you're just like, you're right. Like, okay, I'll get up, I'll do my things, this and that. And my dad, the fact that he's had any resemblance of a normal life has been like quite a miracle. When he was 18 years old, he was hit by a dump truck in Panama and was put in a coma for 30 days. And they thought he was just going to be a walking vegetable. So the fact that he was able to not only survive, but walk, talk, have a career, get married, have kids is a feat in of itself. And if you ever run into my dad, he'll always say the same three jokes about his accident. I've heard it for years. He tells people that, when he was 18, he got hit by a dump truck and, he didn't have the guts to do that again. And, he went on a crash diet. He showed him, he bled all over his fender, like all these things to like try to lighten the mood. And so for me, I always viewed it as it was kind of the joking thing. Like I knew he was in a really bad accident, but I didn't quite know how bad of an accident it truly was until about, I would say, 6 years ago, when I went out to see my grandpa and his side of the family, just Shanna, Jamin, and Maya and I. Like my parents weren't with me. And we talked about his accident, and they talked about it in a completely different scenario. That there were nights where they didn't think he was going to make it. And they didn't think that he would be able to live by himself, let alone get married or anything like that. So the fact that he has any sort of life at all was a huge miracle. And he did well for himself. He worked for the airlines for 40 some odd years. He just retired in 2020. And yeah, it was one of those things, you don't quite realize how hard somebody's working until you get older, and all the sacrifices they make until you get older. Then all of a sudden I'm getting older and I'm like, damn, like that man did a lot, and you have to give him credit for it. So I would dare say, like, my parents are huge motivating factors for wanting me to succeed and do well. And plus you want to make sure that, all right, sorry everybody, we had some technical difficulty. Well, not really technical. We had some lady come in and ask us if the police department was open, and they weren't.
Must have heard Sensei Donovan was here recently.
Yeah, getting back to where we were, man, I can't remember where we were, but I think we were talking about.
Well, who's the inspiration for you? Because you were saying it was the
so
students, your family, obviously.
Yeah, and I think I was getting to the point to where
parents.
you want to work hard enough now, so when they become older, you can take care of them.
Oh yeah,
that's always the. I think as a child, being able to take care of your parents when they become older, I think is the ultimate reward or ultimate gift that you can give them back.
That's interesting. That's actually something I've thought about recently.
Yeah, knowing that they've raised you well enough that you're a contributing member of society, you're polite, you're adding to society, and then the fact that you've been able to become successful enough not only to take care of your family, but you can take care of them in the process that they need it. I think that's a huge motivating factor as well. So, but anyways, well, that's the show for today. And man, I'm still like reeling with that lady that just would not leave.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. But anyways, that's the show for today, everybody. We still have not figured out the Apple stuff. Again, I'm about ready to just go buy a brand new laptop and like figure it out. So I don't know what to do at this point with Apple. Apple, why do you got to make your crap so hard to get on? But make sure you follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Feel free to leave comments down below on questions you would like us to answer, topics you want to hear about, or you can email us at TruTalkTuesdays@gmail.com. Next week, we're going to have a special guest in the studio. Not going to tell you who it is, but it is somebody that is related or is involved with the martial arts industry, but not involved with the martial arts industry.
Whoa.
That's the secret that you'll have for the week. But we'll have a special guest in the dojo next week, so make sure you tune in for that. But other than that, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us here in the dojo, and we'll see you next week, everybody.
Okay, go with them next week. Bye, everyone.